Assalamu alaikum. Peace to the gods. Peace to the goddesses. Peace, peace. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom. Hotep. Whatever way you want to say it. What's more important is how you manifest it. You don't seek peace. You're supposed to be peace. Peace to the streets. I'm your brother in the struggle, Brother Minister Leaf. And today we're going to decipher and decipher astrology. And when I say astrology, I can't just put it all in the negative without the positive. The positive is, put it like this. Astrology is bullcrap. Astronomy is actual facts. Astrology is spooky. Astronomy is spiritual sciences. Astrology is a lie. Astronomy is the truth. Shun astrology, according to Messenger Elijah Muhammad. 75% of everything that Master Fard Muhammad taught and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught is the science of astronomy. The symbols of astrology are pseudosciences. The symbols of astronomy have been with us before we were with us. The sun, moon, and star. When you read in your Bibles, your Torahs, your Qurans, when you study ancient Kemet, Black Egypt, you notice you always see the sun, stars, moons, planets, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Plutone, or so-called Pluto, which is not even technically classified as a planet no more. Know what I mean? To show you the power of the devil still. But long story short, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us to shun astrology. So I went into the vaults and dug out some old literature. Y'all see that handwriting on there, Minister Farrakhan and all that kind of stuff. This is 1972, family. All right. Now, these table talks are, man, this the messenger when he be dropping them jewels. You know what I mean? Like he's eating dinner and he's teaching, just building freestyle. You know what I mean? So before we get into this, I want to read to you what the secretary basically, when the messenger started these table talks technically. Now, and I want you to understand, table talks with Muhammad was used by Prophet Muhammad 1,400 years ago. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is not the originator of table talks. Table talks started with the Khatim Nabi, or the seal of the prophets. Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, our thoughts of peace be upon the last of the prophets. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad is not a prophet or a Nabi. He is a messenger or a Rasul. He is what we consider the Rasul or Al-Rasul, the messenger of Allah. And the Holy Quran backs him up by explaining that every nation gets a messenger. Not a Nabi. Prophet Muhammad is the last of that. But every nation gets a Rasul or a messenger, and that messenger speaks the language of their people. So he don't speak English. He speaks slang like we speak slang. Now, I mean, we're not here to be grammatically correct, cross our T's and dot our I's and all that kind of stuff. We coming from the streets. We coming from the hoods. Know what I mean? But we're going to make it plain. I mean, you know, we got the professional stuff here, but this on testing 1 2, mic check. Testing 1 2. I really don't like all this technical stuff like this here. I'm going to basically turn this off. We're not even going to use that. It's going to come from the heart. I can speak very clearly. I mean, all right. Now, it's so much information here. I'm just looking at this, and it's like the message. I was really looking for something else. It came across, you know, I was like that. I'm going to build on this tomorrow. And I was thinking of something. Now, I mean, me and my Earth, we got up like 3 o'clock this morning because I had to drop these jewels on her. Because I taught on something in the other video. And it's really like when I went to sleep, I had a deep vision about it. It was so deep. I literally went the Mecca and met this old lady, you know what I mean, and was talking to her. She's telling me about Master Muhammad when he's a baby. I ain't talking no spooky stuff. She's speaking Arabic, and I'm not no fluent Arabic, but I understand exactly what she's talking about. But I had to wake up like, yo, check this. And we literally took that old literature from the video, the chapter on awake, because it was something in there. See, stuff in your subconsciousness, and when you not thinking about it, you thinking about it. Now, I mean, it's like in your subconscious, that's when it becomes really conscious in your super consciousness. Know what I mean? And the thing was, I heard different, you know how you hear stuff and I'm so anti-spookism. I push all that stuff to the side. It like, I'll hear it, I'll even read it, but I'm like, I mean, if it sound iffy and spooky, I don't really pay too much attention. But a lot of that stuff, you need to study that. Now, I mean, like the short version. The connections, like in antiquity, like the sister that made the lessons, she mentions how Master Muhammad used to put a glass of oil on his head and dance to do the waltz or whatever. You know what I mean? So that stuck out to me. You know what I mean? Like, okay, boom. You know what I mean? Then, you know, of course, I'm pretty sure you as me and most people in the world, you see people in Africa back in the day on TV, whatever, they carrying the baby, they got the food or the stuff on top of their head. Now, I mean, I'm subconsciously saying to myself, that equilibrium is real good. I mean, like the 9 forces, attraction, repulsion, cohesion, the simulation, creation, projection, reception, the intuition. Those 9 forces, for some reason, they had that feather. Now, I mean, you know how you like rub your feet on the carpet, you touch something, you get electric. You know what I mean? It's that electric magnetic force. They had that balance. Now, I mean, consciously or subconsciously. And I heard different things that I was like, I be looking for the messenger, the person. If I can't verify it, I really don't get into it. I don't confuse my beliefs with my knowledge. Put it like that. Now, I mean, like I hear things like Master Muhammad, he left with a black silk scarf, some say 12 inches, whatever, inside the prison cell and things of that nature there. You know what I mean? And one of the recurring things I kept hearing was about Master Muhammad showing people inside of a glass of water. And then while I'm asleep in my subconsciousness, it takes me back to the messenger's articles, because I'm reading it word for word to y'all. And while I'm reading, it's like, wait a minute. The messenger said in the Wake article that Master Fard Muhammad not only can read your minds and know what's going on, but he can show you yourself inside a glass of water. That's directly from the messenger in 1934. So the messenger is confirming stuff I heard 40 years ago reading about these other FOIs and MGT, saying the Savior showed us a picture of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad inside of a glass of water. And it had me thinking. We know it ain't nothing spooky. I mean, so I'm like, what is the science of that? Then, you know, in the video, freestyle, I'm going for, see, I'm not really like teaching from notes and all. I'm reading from literature, the messenger. But as far as my personal, I'm just coming. I don't know what I'm going to say next. But I'm like, that's deep. You know what I mean? Because here we have a historical source, 1934. This is something I got from my beloved Aunt Ola Hassan. 40 years ago, she sent me all this literature. So this in the literature she sent me. She's a lieutenant of the MG. She's a registered Muslim. My cousins are registered members of the Nation of Islam under the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, registered at Muhammad's Temple number 12 under Brother Minister Jeremiah Shabazz, Captain Clarence and all of them. Know what I mean? You know, they physically there. Know what I mean? And I've read it probably like 100 times. Know what I mean? You know, piece of the part, you know what I mean? But that little important tidbit that Master Muhammad can show a person inside of a glass of water when I was asleep on my REM sleep, as I'm resting, it made me think about stuff. Because in the elaboration, when I was building, it made me dawn on like, okay, water. You know what I mean? You know, the ocean, the planet's 71% water. Our body's 71% water. You know what I mean? You know, it's like, okay, we're born in our mother's womb. We're in water. We're in our father's testicles. We're in the water. We're in the vegetables. We're in a glass of water. We're in amoeba swimming around in the ocean. We're in the atoms of hydrogen and helium. We're in, like, okay, everything about us in the beginning, middle, and ending is dealing with this water. You know what I mean? And I'm like, when I was resting, it dawned on me, like, the technology of today is based on purified and well-polished sand. Now, the angel steps on the land and the water, the land and the sea. So I'm like, okay, all this, you know, like when they bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki and all that, one of the things the American generals wrote in their treaty was, y'all cannot teach that God is man no more. They made that the law. The United States would not have entered a peace treaty with Nippon Japan until they took out their constitutional concept, their spiritual sciences, that the Japanese men were gods. And the reason they were afraid of that teaching was this tiny island of Japanese men had the kamikazes. And these dudes was like extremely fearless. Like their general was like, y'all jokers cutting off the heat over here. Y'all killing our people. We retaliating. So it was like a lot of dirt from America, for real, for real. Some gangster stuff going on. Long story short, they was like, okay, for the sake of the women and children, I mean, they surrendered, you know what I mean? And they couldn't have no military. So they was like, how can we make our nation strong if we can't be a military power? America got to protect us. America got to protect them in 2022. They get money. So what they did was they invented the transistor. Now, America's computer, like, you know, like America's computer was like, it'll fill up a giant room, all these big giant computers. I mean, all this stuff to do this binary code, zeros and ones. You know what I mean? They had ancient technology. Keep in mind, this is where the mother plane was built. So what that thing was like, okay, they made the little tiny transistor and took over the whole planet Earth. That technology, when I was growing up, I remember back in the 70s, I lived at 22nd in Indiana in North Philly back then. I mean, we lived on 22nd in Indiana. I went to T.M. Pierce Elementary School. Kelly's Corner was down the street. Ain't no more Kelly Corners no more. But back then they had Kelly's Corner. But they had down the street from us, before you get to Kelly, it was the RCA. That was the number one. You had like the Sears and Roebuck factory down North Philly. Now, a lot of jobs, factory jobs, but there's like technology, radios and TVs and all. It was RCA, American made. I think they had the little dog with the horn or something as the symbol. They was the number one in the world. But then Japan surpassed American technology. They just bombed these jokers, remember? But their children grew up with superior mind power. They knew math and science better than American kids. So now they taking sand, I'm talking, you know, I go to the beach, walk on the sand. They taking sand and making technology with sand. Think about that for a minute. Now, here this sand, this technology, they like, oh, we can make gold is a better conductor of electricity, sand, and polish it up. We got to keep it sterilized. I mean, but they basically saying, all right, when the smoke clears, they're making Sony and all this other stuff. They making these TVs, these radios, these stereos, these microphones, these amps, these computers, these smartphones. Yeah, family, you getting it. Know what I mean? Let that sink in for a minute. Know what I mean? Your smartphone is really using natural minerals in the earth. Now, it didn't happen yet. Keep in mind, this is 2022. Next month, I'll be 58 years old. So it didn't happen in my lifetime. Imagine 100 years from now. Imagine 100 years in the past before we had technology. What the world was like. There's no mics and smartphones and computers and Wi-Fi. Now, I mean, there's no 5G and all this other stuff we got. This stuff is normal now, but back then, you would be considered a god or a goddess if you had that type of technology 100 or 1,000 years ago. Imagine for a moment, hypothetically, imagination, ideas is everything, family. Everything we got, your phone, your computer, your laptop, your car, Tesla, the rockets, all of that was ideas that came out of the mind of some woman or man, black or white, young or old. Know what I mean? Now, imagine ideas 100, 1,000 years in the future, because technology leaps and bounds. Now, I mean, it just jumps. It don't go like a little piece, no, it go like bing, off the chart. Now, I mean, once they learn one thing, it's like, oh, that makes something else, something super easy. Now, I mean, so here we got 100 or 1,000 years from now, and say some little black child or white child or Puerto Rican child, whatever, came up and was like, wait a minute, why is we using sand? Why don't we use water? After all, we see sound, the nimbus clouds, the stratus clouds. We see that Mother Nature has a natural radio. We hear the river rolling. We hear birds playing music on natural radio stations. We can hear the winds. We can hear the thunder. We can see TV. We can look at the atmosphere and see lightning come through this. We can see electronics, electromagnetic static coming through here. We can see protons and electrons building up in these clouds and coming out as a flash of physical light. We can see after the rain a 42 arc of light, a rainbow with 7 colors like Captain Noah used to tell us: red and yellow and pink and green, purple and orange and blue. There's colors that we physically cannot see. There are radiations that we cannot perceive. Insects might perceive some. Dogs might hear some things we can't hear. So imagine the people in the future using water as the technology as opposed to the sand. Now you got a more efficient electrical system here. You see? You could literally have a hologram. You could literally show Michael Jordan slamming a basketball 18 million miles in outer space. You could literally turn on, you could be watching TV, just come outside and look at the night sky. You could look at the day sky and watch TV. You could be in Philadelphia and hear radio, not from a physical box, but the radio is actually coming from the universe itself. You see? This sounds crazy right now in 2022, but people in the future be like, I'll leave talking corny stuff. That's elementary stuff to us in this day and time. But the beauty of it is, Master Fard Muhammad in 1934 is showing FOI and MGT human beings in a glass of water. It's 2022. We can sell each other pictures in an iPhone. I got an iPhone right here. We just went to the phone store today. I just, you know what I mean? We just looking around the iPhone 14 Pro, whatever. They got all kind of phones, like Galaxies, whatever. My wife got the Galaxy, whatever she got. I mean, but the thing about it is, in 1929, Master Fard Muhammad built this mother plane. So he knew about technology. See, a lot of people look at stuff spookily. I don't look at nothing spooky. Like the Master Fard Muhammad gave me a list of 104 books to study in the Library of Congress, 1972 Theology of Time. I'm like, what the? It's not that Master Fard Muhammad gave him a list of 104 books to me. I'm like, how did Master Fard Muhammad, who came from another country, he came from Mecca, Arabia, what is he doing giving the Honorable Elijah Muhammad 104 books to study? If I give you a list, be like, that's like me saying, brother so and so, sister, do me a favor. You going to Walmart, pick up these 104 items for me. When you go there, here's the money. I need you to get 104 items when you go shopping. That means I have to been in there before. I have to know I have to know about this already. If I give you a list of 104 books to study, how many books did I study? If I give you 104 books to study, and I'm telling you all of them teach you some aspect of Prophet Muhammad of 1400 years ago, thoughts of peace be upon him, what else did he study? What patents did he study in the Library of Congress? I'm not talking about knowledge, something I know. I'm talking belief now. Now, I mean, like we're talking, you know what I mean, just analyzing what we know to extract what we don't know. You know what I mean? Meaning that technology patents, early patents on phones and radio, all that stuff is all in here. You know what I mean? Inside this patent office, whatever. You know what I mean? All this stuff is written and talked about in newspapers and articles and books and whatever, manuals and journals, whatever. But it's like, is it practical that the Savior, when he showed FOIs and MGTs, a human image in a glass of water, has some type of technology in 1934 that we don't know about in 2022? I'm like, I don't want to stretch it and be like, did he have a smartphone back in the day? That's what they call anachronism. I mean, I'm like, did he have something out of place in 1930? Did he have some type of science that we are yet to learn about? You know what I mean? So we're going to get into some of these theology of time table talks where the messengers just go into the science of his teachings. Now, as we go into this, I want to read to you the origin. This, I ain't gonna say the origin. I want to read to you before Table Talks came out, formerly from the Nation of Islam. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad's Mosque number 2 issued, you could say, a directive. This was sent to all the ministers of the Nation of Islam, all the captains of the Nation of Islam, and all the secretaries of the Nation of Islam. So this is from the top. Now, I mean, this is from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his staff directly to the Laboring Party. All right. Muhammad's Mosque number 2, 5335 South Greenwood Avenue, Chicago, Illinois, 60615. Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, our Savior, who came in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, we forever give thanks and praise to Allah for our beloved leader and teacher, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Dear brother ministers, captain, and secretary, consider the time. For more than 35 years now, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has been trying to prepare us for the time in which we presently live. Today, we are suddenly thrust into a kaleidoscope of events. Major changes occur daily as the world in general, and the so-called American Negro specifically, reacts violently to the upheavals of a changing world. In the midst of this stands the Muslim, resolute in his faith and confident of his future survival. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad is ever mindful of the needs of our ever-growing nation. Being the progressive, divine leader that he is, Allah is constantly revealing to him the role that we must play in the significance of today's history, so that you too can remain abreast of prophecy and so lead the people who lean upon you and flock to the mosque to drink from the cup that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has provided for you. Our leader and teacher has decided to periodically forward to you, quote, Table Talks of Muhammad. As many of you are aware, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's schedule is so tight, so jam-filled with the details and necessities that are part and parcel of running a nation, that the important task of ministering to the ministers and laborers sometimes gets a little behind. Yet one of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's most enjoyable tasks is teaching. And it is at his dinner table where wisdom knows no bounds and understanding is depthless, that a fantastic number of things are discussed. It is these table talks with Muhammad that you will be receiving periodically, faithfully reproduced word for word from a tape recording of questions put to the Holy Apostle and his answers. You will find a broad range of subjects being discussed, from the problem book to what should a Muslim name his child. It goes without saying that this totally unselfish sharing of the wisdom of Allah with you is characteristic of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You may find many of these topics the subject for teaching that you can and should go to the people with. That's what I'm doing now, fam. Other topics will relate to specific administrative techniques and details that can find its use primarily amongst the laboring staff. Everything you receive will be wisdom of the highest order. Use it accordingly. As-salamu alaikum. As-salamu alaikum, faithfully yours, Muhammad's Mosque, number 2. Okay, so this was the directive. And there's so many jewels in these table talks. All right. What I'm going to do is share with you volume 1, number 2 of some of these table talks. Because there's so many subjects. We'll cover other subjects different times, inshallah, Sakin. But I want to share with you the specific subject on astrology. Like, what is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teachings on astrology? It's a lot that goes with this. For those of you that did not have the opportunity to do intensive research on the subject, specifically as it relates to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teachings, I'm going to give you a shortcut, if you will. All right. In the Muhammad Speaks newspaper, one of the things that I remember that I loved was Brother Najib, the cartoonist, the brother that used to do the artwork for the Muhammad Speaks newspaper. They had a drawing in the Muhammad Speaks that was approved by Messenger Elijah Muhammad naturally. And basically they were showing, it said shun astrology. And they had, you know, some pictures in there. One of the pictures was the picture of like a black cat. Now, I mean, basically, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that Islam is mathematics and mathematics is Islam, that there's nothing spooky, that we believe in astronomy, but not astrology. And this is what makes the subject so confusing to a lot of people. Now, I mean, you have allowances that's made. We realize we're in America. So we'll say things like the said nation of Islam has no birth record, has no beginning nor ending, but you'll see the Honorable Elijah Muhammad talking about birthdays and things of that nature there. You'll see Sunnis or different other Muslims saying Muslims don't celebrate birthdays. So you basically are trying to deal with a whole culture. And that's how our ancestors in ancient Kemet or Black Egypt used to do it. So a lot of stuff overlaps, know what I mean? But the way you keep yourself afloat is you keep a lawless messenger out front. You always is conscious of the fact there's nothing spooky. Know what I mean? I personally have heard over 40 years a lot of spooky stuff. Know what I mean? Coming from different laborers and officials of the Nation of Islam that contradicts what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said and taught us regarding astrology. I mean, I met individual believers that were sincere in their beliefs, and without really realizing what they was talking about, they'll just say things like, "Oh, when you was born, oh January, oh you an Aquarius," and I'll brush it off like you getting spooky in the mud. I mean, you know what I mean? Maybe like you're Aquarius, this, that, you're a water barrier, man. And I'm like, every person and every plant and every fish and every bird, everything that's alive is an Aquarius. like you spooked out your mind. You know, I used to joke with them, whatever, but I understood what they were saying when they were like, okay, you're born on a certain month or a certain week or a certain time, the sun and a certain planet, you know what I mean? And they wanna try to tell you your astrological sign and what your life going to be, or what your day going to be like, or your month going to be like, or your finances, or your love life and all that, based on your sign. I mean, and if I was to summarize it, I would just simplify it in one word: spooky. If y'all was talking to me like Ace Money, spooky shit. I mean, but if I was talking to some scientists, some intellectuals, some astronomers, I'll be like, it's definitely something to it. There's definitely a science there, you know what I mean? But this doesn't mean that. I mean, you know, it's like how can you separate the facts from the fantasy? How can you elevate the facts by ignoring the spirituality? You know what I mean? So some people become atheists or extreme scientists and they get it wrong. You know what I mean? You know, you got people that literally be like, oh, all religions, this, that. And I'll be like, yeah, but we in the Nation of Islam, the messenger don't teach religion in the traditional sense. He teaches spiritual science. His thing is, if it's not in accord with the universal order of things, it's not Islam. That takes away the spookism out of everything. If it's not something that happens in natural phenomena, it is not the teaching of Elijah Muhammad. That means life after death, the woman goddess over the man, the white man before the black man, anything that's not mathematical, we shun it. We don't get on a throne and like it's our way or the highway. We want to hear you out. I mean, but it's like, do we have the time to waste debunking all the spooky nonsense that the 85% believe in and the 10% is flooding the 85% with? It just takes too much time to do that crap. It's like, nah, we can go there. We could go into it. You know what I mean? But it's better just to simplify. You know what I mean? If you're a student follower of Elijah Muhammad, my thing is, let me give you what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said first as a premise, as a foundation, so you can stand on something. And then you could go from there with the other stuff. I mean, all right, so we're gonna go into and it's like 40 years old, so it's real old documents. these the original joints from mine. But the thing about it is, it's going to explain before the question is asked and the answer is given. The messenger secretaries that transcribe the information to make sure everything is right and exact is going to give a qualifier. It says first, unless specifically stated otherwise, all answers are given by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the messenger of Allah. Now, so basically we have a situation where if you're not physically there in a conversation and someone's building on something and you're not getting the context, like it can make you add something to it that shouldn't be added. It can make you miss something that's important. You know what I mean? So the good thing with this is it gives you the Honorable Elijah Muhammad himself. Now I mean, now in doing that, you have to keep in mind that the message is talking to believers at the dinner table. So there's certain assumptions already that y'all already know certain stuff. So he don't have to explain certain things. So you're gonna see him when he go in on certain things, he's already aware consciously and subconsciously that these are registered Muslims, these are ministers, captains, second people that already believe in him and his teachings. Okay. So let's look at this. Question. Dear Holy Apostle, there are many people that I know who live day by day according to horoscopes. It seems that the astrologers have computed that certain months are governed by certain planets. Consequently, it is said that if you were born at a certain time under a certain sign of a certain planet, this signifies that you will be possessed of certain specific characteristics. These characteristics will, to a large extent, supposedly govern and determine your personality. When I read these horoscopes and the things they try to project, it seems to me that they are broad enough and general enough to cover everybody and everything. Then, when one sees something that they like, since one always likes to hear something that one likes anyway, then you consider that certainly fits me, and these things must therefore have some truth to them. Yet we know the moon itself has some type of definitive effect on the earth in terms of controlling water, in parentheses, although the astrologers do not recognize the moon in that scheme of things. And the question that comes to my mind is, in terms of the fact that the universe, as such as it has been set up, it follows a law. It follows a pattern. Can the changes in positions of the planets and their relationship to one another actually affect people from the point of view of behavior and personality development? Now, here's the answer directly from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. For several years, while doing research on Islam and this Christian religion in Washington, D.C., I've read many of the best books of astrology. These astrologers call themselves scientists of the stars and their reactions and their effect upon people on the earth. Horoscopes and things like that are one of the biggest technology there ever was to throw me and you away from the truth. Because if you study it and you're not careful and you don't already know the truth, you will be tempted to believe a little of it anyway. This is the second question. The first person that asked the question, the messenger asked, this is a totally different person asking the second question. The astrologers believe that if you were born on a particular day, no matter where on earth, you have something similar in your personality to everyone else born on that same day. The answer directly from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Yes, you mean that they put that lie out on everybody all over the planet. Same question. I might say that I couldn't find any scientific basis for the establishment of what the astrologers purport to be the truth. On the other hand, that which you have taught us of astronomy holds true and makes sense, and is certainly scientifically sound. When we consider what you have taught us about the deportation of the moon, how the moon relates to the earth in terms of the dryness of that planet, in terms of the earth's effect upon it, it once having been a part of earth, it all makes scientific sense. These far-fetched notions of the astrologers, when you think about it, don't have a modicum of fact to back them up. And yet I've heard Muslims discuss notions of astrology with some evidence of belief in it and are actually impressed by some of the books on astrology. Answered by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The Holy Quran is against you believing astrology. It teaches you against it and tells you where it came from the devil, not from the Muslim. The Muslim that is not too strong better not get hold of this kind of stuff. I've studied books of it, and I'm telling you, if you are not careful, you will be tempted to believe some of it. Some people, meaning astrologers, should be taken to the chopping block and one by one have their heads chopped off. No wonder God said to me, quote, these type of people, kill every one of them. Don't let any soothsayer exist in the earth. Those who peek and mutter. Then in parentheses explains, the conversation then drifted into a discussion related to Buddhism and other religions and pseudo-religions, and the Holy Apostle then made the following statement, quote, some of the books there in the Congressional Library, brother, that if you don't read it and keep your mind on Islam, you'll be tempted to believe some of it, if not all of it. Brother, I say hold fast to the handle of Islam. For those things, in parentheses says, astrology, Hinduism, Buddhism, and the like, will lead you astray. No wonder the God told Moses, he said, quote, do not follow them. Do not marry into that people other than your own people Israel, lest these people will lead thee astray from the God who brought thee up from the land of Egypt out of the house of bondage. And then he says, quote, it will come upon thee the effect that is written in this book against you. Now we see it clearly. These are things of which we are warned. Israel is warned. I don't care what strangers you run into, don't marry them because this people, the book says, God will destroy because they don't worship him. We see plenty of that today. They, in parentheses, all the other religions, pseudo-religions, and pseudo-scientists don't worship Master Fard Muhammad. And he is the God today. And he is going to change the world. He is going to be the ruler, and we are his people that he will rule the others with. Remember. Next question. In the event a mosque thinks they are ready to start a school, we ain't going to get into that. I want to just stick with the astrology stuff for a moment here. So here, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us we should not believe in what they call astrology. And he teaches us basically that the information about astrology is powerful, it's attractive, it's seductive. You'll be tempted to believe some, if not all of it, according to Messenger Elijah Muhammad. Know what I mean? And when you hear your lessons and the problem book and the messenger teachings and learning about the flag of Islam and reading the messenger books, you're going to get all this astronomy. So it's real important that you be clear in your mind's eye that astronomy gave birth to facts, but astrology gave birth to tricks and facts, or tricknology, meaning you can try to learn a science and be wrong in learning that science, but be sincere in your studies. So people in antiquity, they're looking at the night sky. It's not like this day and time where we got all this, you know, generated like power grids. You know what I mean? Where, you know, if you would say 4,000, 4 million years ago, a billion years ago, you know, it'll be more natural and innate with you. You'll have a better rhythm in seeing the cycles of the sun, the moon, the stars, the planets. You know what I mean? Like you know, like if you're busy, you're in the car driving, you got to go to Walmart, you got to go pick up the children from school, you got to go to work, whatever, you got to pay bills. You're not looking at Venus. You're not looking at Mars go across the sun. Those types of things is not really that important. You might even hear on the news, what's the weather tomorrow? They talking about, okay, it's going to be the harvest moon. And you'd be like, I'm not going outside to see no harvest moon. I mean, they'd be like, you know, not that those things are not important. It's just that in this fast-paced world, you find other things more important. But if you're comfortable and you're a gatherer or hunter, and you got your home, and your family is safe, you know what I mean? You're cool, you chilling. You know what I mean? You can look up. I mean, you know what I mean? You can wonder, you can be curious. I mean, you can observe. You know what I mean? You see, you know, you can wonder what makes rain, hail, snow, and earthquakes, according to our lessons, Lost Film Monster lesson number 2, or 1 of 40 as it's commonly known in 5% Nation of Gods and Earth. Now, I mean, we can think that some mystery god is doing this stuff. Now, I mean, you know, there's a god Thor that's making thunderbolts go across the sky. You know what I mean? We could think it's Zeus, and we could think it's the gods of the Vikings, or the gods of the Hindus, the Indians, the Chinese. We could think it's the god of the Buddhists, the Taoists and Zionists, or whatever, the Jews. We could think it's Yahweh or Jesus Christ. You know what I mean? We could think it's the Muslim god in the sky, Allah, the creator of the universe. We could think it's the angel Michael flapping his wings. You know what I mean? So all kind of pseudosciences. I'm talking thousands and millions of spooky ideas come up. You know what I mean? And those oral traditions get passed down. You know what I mean? Like in fact, I might add it in here. I don't know, joking around. I went to the mall today, and we had to go grab some stuff. And when we go in there, we hear this, you know, we pull over in the car. I'm like, what's going on? I mean, this is, you know, emergency, you know what I mean? Fire truck coming. They got Santa Claus on top of the fire truck. And he's going around, and all the children is like starstruck, like, oh, a Santa Claus, Santa Claus. I mean, and they got it's a mall, so it's funny because the children is going to the mall. They see Santa Claus on the fire truck. They got another Santa Claus in front of Bosco's waving a joint. So the kid's like, wait a minute, what you see, Santa? Ain't that Santa over there? Well, who that? I mean, now they got another Santa Claus in the mall. So I videotape this devil. I mean, I make a little joke. I'm like, we ready to go viral. I'm going to go over here and knock Santa Claus the fuck out. I mean, I ain't do nothing to the man. I'm just joking. I mean, but... You know what I mean? But the thing is, it's like that mystery god. It's so many thousands of mystery gods. It's nothing for people in this day and time to be like, oh, I don't believe in Zeus. I mean, I don't believe in Apollo. I don't believe in Mars. I don't believe in the goddess Venus. You know what I mean? But at one time, people really did. Just like you believe in Jesus today, just like you believe in Yahweh and Allah and all these other mystery gods, that's the same way these 4,000 mystery gods all over the planet. People really believe in the Anu and all that kind. They be like, man, they were the real gods back then. They were gods. You know what I mean? They really believe any phenomena they could not understand. They literally was like, okay, well, the Nile River flooded. There had to be a god that made that flood. I mean, well, there was a drought. There had to be a drought god that made that happen. There was an earthquake. The lion came and tried to grab my baby, and I couldn't get to her in time, and the lion swung his claw, and the wind blew, and the baby fell, so the lion missed, And when the lion missed, it fell and twisted his leg and it rumbled over and hurt his leg, so it limped away. It had to be some miracle. It had to be some protector God that saved my little baby from that lion. That lion always kill everybody. But look, my baby right here, we found a scratch. Praise the lion gods. And this, I'm being fictitious, but realistically speaking, we always like to fill in the unknown with the known. Know what I mean? It's like a loved one died. I mean, where did they go? Will we see them again? I mean, is they going up into heaven? Is they going to go to Mars? They was an evil person. Is they going to go to hell? Is Hitler burning up in hot lava right now? Now, I mean, is they drinking boiling hot water or hot molten lava or something like that, molten lead? So human beings, by nature, psychologically, we try to understand the world. Our brains is just designed to seek patterns. Now, I mean, we like to try to like summer, winter, spring. We don't like unexpected stuff, the element of in warfare. That's the greatest element, the unexpected. Know what I mean? We don't like that kind of stuff. Know what I mean? Because you can't have a prophecy or prediction. It's not written. It's not mathematics. Know what I mean? And if it's not written or not mathematics, it throws everything off. That's chaos. I mean, we want balance. We want the Mayat. Know what I mean? And the universe is structured in such a beautiful way that there's no need for magic. There's no need for miracles. The mathematical wonders are sufficient. Now, I mean, but we have to realize that there's things that we just don't know, things we just don't understand. I mean, things that we have to learn, things that we have to study. Now, I mean, and that's the slippery slope with the human family, the human nature. Now, I mean, this is how astronomy overlaps astrology, and astrology overlaps astronomy. It's like I mean, like you got extremes on religious side and the science side. Now, I mean, it's like the Egyptian, the Kemetic Book of the Dead, for example. I mean, you have people that literally get spooky when it comes to Black history. I mean, like they'll be like, oh, the Egyptians was perfect. They knew everything. And it's like the Egyptians was like people in this day and time. And put it like this. When it comes to religious leaders, priesthoods, ministers, viziers, imams, rabbis, gurus, sheikhs, lords, whatever you want to call them, middle people. I mean, what's the practical, realistic thing? And this is just my little observation and study on the issue. What I find is basically you have with Master Muhammad simplified it. You got 5%ers and 10%ers. You got poor righteous teachers and rich slave makers of the poor. Now, I mean, in every society, in every culture, in every time, you had that in ancient Egypt. You had that in the Nation of Islam in 2022. You got 5% ministers and 10% ministers in the 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, 60s. I'm pretty sure they're going to be here 10 years from now. Know what I mean? So it's hard to like just try to put it all on the same pedal. Now, I mean, it's like, nah, it's like you have these masses that literally don't read meta-netta. They can't read Aramaic and Arabic and Hebrew and Greek. They don't know, like 2022, a lot of FOIs that just don't know the original divine direct teachers of Elijah Muhammad. So they are listening to the high priests, the holy ones, the the imams, the ones that can speak the Arabic fluently, they speak 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 different languages. They can write them for, they know the Hebrew, the Aramaic, they know the slang, they getting money. I mean, but it's like, yeah, because some of them is right. Some of them are sincere. The challenge is how you going to shift through all this mud and dirt to get the jewels. I mean, you got to be like, everything that shine ain't gold. It's like, how can we distinguish the pretenders from the defenders? We have to be like, okay, I don't want the high priest stuff. I mean, you're giving me your version of the Book of the Dead. See, like, if you're a poor person in ancient Kemet and Black Egypt back in the day, you don't have a bunch of money, they'd be like, all right, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to give you a Book of the Dead based on the Book of the Dead. Your Book of the Dead going to have a picture of you, your wife, and your 2 sons and your daughter. Even your pet is going to be in this joint. And we're going to write this in such a way that when you come before the judgment seat, your heart is going to balance out with the feather, and you're going to go into everlasting paradise and see all your loved ones, and you're going to live happily ever as long as you pay me such. Now, if you don't pay me all my money, I'm not going to finish writing the John. They're not going to finish drawing in the stuff. So when you get over here, you're not going to overcome the wild beasts, and you're going to be caught up in the hellfire. You're going to be forgotten. Done deal. Now, people scared, like, oh, man, I can't. I mean, wifey, like, what is you? We got bills to pay right now. That's like half year's wages to do that spooky stuff. You're like, oh, man, what's more important, that or eternity in hell? I mean, they using fear mongering. The fear of hellfire. I mean, the Catholic Church got paid off that kind of crap. They took a lot of land. They tortured a lot of people with that spooky stuff. Now, I mean, I ain't just talking about Islam did it too. I mean, Buddhism did it too. The Jews did, Judaism, all organized religions do that crap. Now, I mean, you have Yaqub in them. Now, I mean, you had tyrants in the Nation of Islam, bullies in the Nation of Islam. You better sell them papers. You get your ass whipped. I mean, brothers beating brothers and all that. Yeah, it's real. So you have the 10% element, and you got to be able to, like, what is the messenger's message in this age of mess? And when you get the original divine direct teaching, your thing is like, okay, first let me make sure this is the messenger teaching. I mean, and the messengers, this ain't got nothing to do with, but I got a totally separate thing over here. This right here, I don't know if y'all can see this. This is an old Muhammad Speaks. I was just reading this the other day. This is the kind of stuff the messenger had to explain to. It's a lot. The messenger like, that bull crap y'all hearing. The messenger used to put it. See, he taught it a certain way. His thing is like, he used to put in Muhammad Speaks like, listen, this is down with Elijah Muhammad with his secretary on stage in the mosque telling the FY and MGT, listen, you got ministers and elders in the Nation of Islam that's lying that behind off to y'all, telling y'all this spooky crap. That's not my teaching. Y'all know how I teach. I ain't talking about, I'm talking the messenger saying, y'all know how I, messenger Elijah Muhammad, teach. He had to do that because there's 10%, I mean, that be talking that spooky crap. I mean, they're going to spook you up because if they could keep your eyes up in the sky looking for Jesus, Allah, Muhammad, the mother plane, whatever, they could keep their hands in your pocket. That's just how that go. Now, I mean, if you're going across the Pacific, the Atlantic, the Indian Ocean, and you're going to run around this rock, they like, oh, you got to pay to do this. You got to get permission from the priesthood to come make the minor Hajj or the major Hajj. Now, I mean, you have to pay for the sacrifice. Now, a couple of y'all can put your money together and get one big lamb and we'll sacrifice, this one and that. So the Jews like, oh, you can't get any lamb. It got to be a lamb without blemish. You got to pay to make sure the meat is kosher. You can't use any animal. You got to make sure the animal is halal. I mean, so it's like, it's a lot of money that goes into the priesthood. I mean, and it's like, when it comes to that kind of stuff, that makes it a slippery slope. So the 5%, we ain't got the numbers like that. We ain't got the paper. I mean, when you're teaching the teachers from the heart, you like, I'm not trying to get you to follow me. I don't have no followers. I don't have no mosques or temples. I don't believe in temples and mosques and churches and synagogues and none of that. My thing is the Holy Quran and Bible is made by the original people, who is the law. It's made from you, your grandmom, your great grandma. That's that's how that stuff really came about. Now I mean, the culture is from our ancestors, our pioneers. Now I mean, so when we look at this stuff, it's a lot of spooky stuff, but it's a lot of truth. So you can't just say ignore it or it's a lie, because then you're going to be missing the truth of you. This is why I love those that strive to teach people the reality of the Torah, the reality of Black Jews, the reality of the Hebrews, the reality of Jesus wasn't white. Like I like Pastor Geno Jennings when he talk about the real principles of the Bible. I mean, the imams, when they teach you like, oh, don't take hadith over Quran. Like we need hadith and use hadith, but don't take that over the Quran. Now I mean, I like the Nation Islam ministers when they give you the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's original divine and direct teachings. Now, I mean, they be like, nah, we believe the messenger's message guide us through this age of mess. Study. I like when the 5% nation guy, they like, man, we working with 120. Now, I mean, we work the black man as God. Now, I mean, the sciences of life. Now, I mean, that keeps the people, that's that scale, like, is you're going to be spooky, or is you going to do for self, or are you going to do for someone else? I mean, it's like, it keeps you in that safe zone. It keeps you balanced out. Now, I mean, not that we not gonna make mistakes on both sides, but you wanna always be balanced. You always want to keep in mind that, now I mean, when we teach, no matter what I teach, I don't know everything. I'm not the master teacher. I mean, I'm a student too now. I mean, there are, like, say for example, we talking about astrology, for example. I'm not an astrologist. I'm not an astronomer. I mean, it's like there are black and white astronomers that know astronomy way better than me. There are people that be like, I've been in outer space. You got people that build technology that if they gave me the keys to the observatory and I went in there, I wouldn't even know how to use it. I wouldn't know how to turn it on. I'd be like, what am I supposed to do with all this? Know what I mean? So I know that if I compared everything that I know to what I don't know, I don't know anything. But I'm also know those 10% that's acting like they know everything is full of crap. I mean, so it's like when the messenger drops these types of jewels, I'm going to reread something again from him on his answer. He said to us, the Holy Quran is against you believing astrology. It teaches you against it and tells you where it came from, the devil, not from the Muslim. The Muslim that is not too strong better not get hold of this kind of stuff. I study books of it, and I'm telling you, if you are not careful, you will be tempted to believe some of it. So the messenger thing here is interesting, because here you got a man that's saying like, all right, listen, man, I went to Washington, D.C. I went in the Library of Congress. I studied books on that. I'm not talking from just the Bible. Like I could tell you about Yaqub, or in the Bible, Jacob. Jacob got 12 sons. He got the daughter Dinah, which is nothing but the 12 zodiac signs and the Virgo. I mean, like me, I study that crap too. Now, I mean, I ain't gonna say crap because a lot of it is crack science. When it comes to astronomy, ancient astronomy, when it comes to the temple in ancient Kemet or Black Egypt, for example, you literally on the cylinder, they literally got what we would call in this day and times the 12 zodiacs on the cylinder. But people don't put it in context. They not saying like, oh, the Levant, they don't, the French came over here and took over. It's all kind of stuff with French Egyptologists interpreting their spiritual sciences, and something that they may consider spiritual science or astronomy, these European French Egyptologists saying it's astrology. I mean, and we covered that years ago on the cover of our newsletter, show pictures of it and all that stuff. And it'll be like little nuances that's different from the modern day stuff. Like it may have like an ancient god, king, pharaoh, say the Scorpion King. And then in this day of time, they'd be like, okay, well, they didn't have scorpions when they did that little translation. So they made the other zodiac, not the scorpion, but they made it a crab or Cancer. I mean, but in that time, they'd be like, okay, the Cancer was not a crab, but it was a scorpion. You know what I mean? So it's it's like, in ancient China, you got like the year of the dragon. You got all kind of stuff around the world with people studying the stars and the constellations because they looking at a real phenomenon. They see the pattern. I mean, like Orion's belt is mathematically laid out, and people imagine things like, oh, was these some daughters, some virgins that this have the Native American Indians have all that mythology. That's not me. So mythology is usually rooted in reality. It's rooted in fact, but you can't take oral traditions and stuff literally. Like you'd be like, the serpent was in a tree, and they'd be like, the snake was actually talking. It's like, now you're getting a little spooky. I mean, so the Elijah Muhammad, his thing is like, you have to shun it. Like I remember years ago studying ancient astrology and the ancient, I was actually looking at the ancient Babylonian or Iraqi calendar system, and it was not comical, it was hilarious to me that in simple terms, they had like put it like this, say you got an ancient zodiac sign. In fact, I'm gonna dig out. I'm gonna try to see if I can find the ancient 12 gods and goddesses of Egypt, where the astrology was really built off of them. What we call nature science, we deal with science, like 12 major scientists and 12 minor scientists. Pseudoscientists get into 12 astrological signs or symbols, and people go out and hug the sign. They hug the symbols and think that the sign or the symbol is the actual substance. You know what I mean? It's like I used to get the Philadelphia Daily newspaper, and I think it was Ebony or Jet, some black magazine. I think it was Jet. It might have been Jet and Ebony. You know what I mean? But my mom was into that. My mom was not a religious woman. My mom was like, she was born a Southern Baptist. She's from Macon, Georgia. But she, growing up, me and my sisters, we never in our life went to church with my mom unless it was a funeral. I mean, it's like her thing was like, she wasn't working with no sky god at all. That's one thing with her. She like, Jesus ain't paying no fucking bills down here. That was her language. Now, I mean, her language to me as a child was, when I asked her who was God, she was like, your Uncle Bunny. He the only one that ever did something for y'all. Know what I mean? And my Uncle Bunny, him and his wife moved us and his family in his house. I mean, with my cousins. I'm like, man, he was the savior to me. I mean, like, I don't know if we would have been eating. I mean, but it's like, ain't no mystery God paid no bills. He worked 2 factory jobs and used to bring us big pretzels and peanut brittle. And I remember this stuff as a child. Know what I mean? So it's like, I love my uncle. He's dead, thoughts of peace be upon him. I love my Aunt Brenda right to this day. Know what I mean? But it's like, my mom used to instill certain stuff in me unintentionally, good and bad. You know how moms is. She's trying to raise her 4 children. Know what I mean? But the thing is that she was deep into some bull crap. She was like into luck, superstition. And I don't even know where I got it from. I never was into luck. I never was into super. So when we used to bump heads about that. Now, I mean, I always respect my mama because she demand respect. But she used to like, my name was, and she's like, Ash, spit on a broom. Like, what you talking about? I was sweeping and you had me sweep your foot. I'm not spitting on no broom. Boy, you better spit on this. And I have to spit on the broom. Some superstitious crap or whatever. Now, I mean, like, if you spill salt, you got to throw salt over your shoulder. If you break a mirror, you got 7 years. If you walk in the house, it was so much stuff. I don't even remember all that stuff. New Year's stuff, you know what I mean? But she had all these southern, like walking under ladders, black cats is bad luck. So I'm like, why the white cat ain't the bad luck? You know what I mean? She just believed in it, but she didn't live her life by that stuff. But one of the things she definitely used to do, she used to faithfully read those darn astrology signs. And that used to intrigue me. So I used to read them. I mean, because I'm like, what is she? Because she used to be like, yeah, this is this. Now, I mean, like she'll read. Back then, they had like women's mag like Essence, and she was into like true crime magazines. This is for the internet. This is back in like the 70s or something. Know what I mean? But they used to have like in Ebony magazine, like they'll have like in the back somewhere like a chart saying like, if this your sign, this is your personality type. You're gonna find romance. You're gonna find finances. You're gonna be healed. You know what I mean? Whatever. And the daily newspaper used to have that stuff too. So I'm like, if you read the Philadelphia Daily newspaper back in the day, it'll give you a sign. But if you read, say, the Inquirer, it'll give you a totally different sign. So this one, the Aquarius is like, oh, you're going to find finances, and this one telling you, oh, you're going to find romance or whatever the case may be. So it's like psychologically bullcrap that everyone is going to, if you think about it, you be like, yeah, that fits me. I mean, so I used to like play with her about that stuff, like, why you believe this? And mood rings. That was another big thing back in the day. Like the Chinese people had, I remember all this stuff subconsciously. The Chinese people had the Chinese slippers with the Arabic name of law written at the bottom of the slippers. So the Muslims was ready to go to war with the Chinese in the hood. Like, yo, they got a law. They walking on the law, you know what I mean? So we would never wear them Chinese slippers. They had the mood ring, the Playboy bunny charm, you know what I mean? The lucky rabbit's foot. And I'm like, Mom, why are you buying the rabbit's foot? I'm buying this is for good luck. I'm like, Mom, how's it good luck? The rabbit lost his foot. He got his foot cut off. He wasn't lucky. How's it going to bring you luck? Know what I mean? But it's like our people, in that desperation, they trying to find a better way. Like my grandfather, he used to hit the lottery tickets. I mean, he'd be playing them little, not for big money, but he'd play them joints. I used to go get the tickets. And he'd win like $50, you know what I mean? That's a lot of money back in the day. He's playing the little lottery tickets. And I'm like, Dad, Grandpa, you be hitting these joints, you know what I mean? Give me some money, go get me some candy, and I go play these numbers, this, that, and the other, man. And I mean, I bring him his little tickets and all that. I get my little squirrel nuts, my now laters, my little cookies, and my Bubs Daddy and all that. You know what I mean? I'm satisfied. You know what I mean? But he'd usually lose. But he used to win a lot. I used to give him that. He used to hit them joints. You know what I mean? And they literally be like, if something happened, they'll play that number. I mean, like, oh, that's the third time the three came up today. You know what I mean? It's like three of y'all came in the house at the same time at 3 o'clock. I'll play 3-3-3. You know what I mean? And I play 3-3-3 and he'll lose. You know what I mean? But sometimes he'll win. But you know what I mean? It's all in the odds. So I always was like mathematical in my thinking because I used to see that stuff as a child. So when the messages say that you'll be tempted to believe some, because you'll see sometimes the stuff works. And then it'll literally have you like, man, I mean, maybe it's something to this. Now, I mean, it's like the in the science of the stuff, the oldest zodiac signs was an ancient Kemet. It was the fish. I mean, if you're living on the Nile River, um, you know, Egyptians, contrary to popular spookism, were not vegetarians. I mean, they ate geese and eggs and drank beer and ate fish and they eat vegetables and fruit too. I mean, but they would use the fish. The Greeks and Romans and Europeans, they like these guys got a strong culture. They adopted stuff. They use dolphins. I mean, so when you look at the white gods in the back of Caesar coin, he got his dolphins. What do the Christians do? Now, I mean, those that follow the way are like we call today Sunnis. I mean, they on the Sirat Mustaqim, they on the straight path. Back then, they was known as Christians. They on the path of Jesus. They little Christ. I mean, they use the fish. I mean, so it's like a lot of it doesn't spook you up, nor do you find fault with the religious people for adopting and using their unique cultures and traditions and superstitions. That's what humans do. And I mean, that's all in it. And I mean, I remember studying Arabic and learning how to make salat and all that stuff. And I mean, and it was like, I'm type to like try to analyze stuff. And I used to see that I'd like want to know the science of it. Like, why do we wash the right hand first? They'd be like, brother, don't step on the prayer mat unless you step on with your right foot first. They put a big sign up. I remember who I love and respect, Jabbar, down greatest for it, when they built the masjid downstairs, they put the actual sign up there. My thing is, I don't understand it, but I'm going to do it because I respect your house. You want me to step on with your... If I'm in Rome, I'm going to do what the Romans do. If I'm in China, if I'm in the Buddhist John, I'm going to respect your John. I mean, if you burn a sage, if you got your gold figurines up because you a Hindu, it's peaceful. I mean, do your thing. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? But when I studied it, it was like, oh, it makes sense. See, usually traditions and rituals come from some practical, necessary science. I mean, like, okay, damn, you in the desert and you don't have toilet paper and flushing toilets, and I mean, and you cleaning yourself with your left hand, and you got to eat. You're going to eat with the right hand and cleanse yourself with the left hand. Then sayings come up, yeah, don't let your right hand know what the left hand doing. Now, I mean, so it's like, okay, it's nothing spooky to me with any religion. When I read the Bible, I'm like reading it, but I'm not reading in a spooky sense. Now, I mean, I'm reading it like, man, this God is a gangster. this God here is like the Don of Dons. He's sending hits out, and I mean, it's like he doing this, that, and the other. Now, I mean, but I'm being fictitious, but I'm saying it in a sense like, if you take this stuff literally, man, you be spooked out your mind. Now, I mean, so when it comes to people using tarot cards and burning candles and incense and whatever, now, I mean, there's a science to it. Like, yeah, aromatherapy is a true science. Crystals have a true, all through scriptures, you're going to find about these crystals. All through history, antiquity, people is into rare things. I mean, whether it's gold, is sapphires, emeralds, pearls, rocks, whatever. I mean, this rock is different from the other rocks. Scientists be like, yo, when we heat these rocks up, when we mix tin with copper, we get bronze. Chemistry, meaning like astrology helps form real astronomy. See what I'm saying? So the message told us in our lesson, 17 Ways for the Islamic Culture, he said, actions are judged by intentions. Actions may appear wrong, but motives bring rewards. Let me see if I can find that thing I was telling you about those gods. Hold on one second here. Okay. I'm gonna give you. I'm not. I don't want to make it too complicated. I don't even want to get into the dates. It's a lot of pseudoscience that goes with all that stuff. But I just want to simplify to give you the gist of the show that there is a basis in real. There's a basis. The root of real astronomy is rooted in astrology, because the people had to be born in belief, and they started to grow in knowledge, then wisdom, then understanding. Okay, you could throw faith in there too. I mean, you got people that are faced with the unknown, and then they start believing things and trying to interpret the unknown. So they start believing things, and they be like, well, in this age of reason at this time, this is the best information we have. So we're going to have faith in this. I mean, we like, if the sun keep rising and setting, we can have faith that it's going to rise tomorrow. It may not rise tomorrow, but something tells us it's going to rise again tomorrow. It may rise again tomorrow. It's been rising, but eventually it's not going to rise. Some people may come into science and be like, it never was rising. It was y'all that was actually moving around the sun, but it looked like it. So the whole time y'all was wrong. But that's more like a technical, that don't take away the niyat or the intent that the sun is rising and setting to the believers. Now, I mean, it's just giving them more information or more understanding on the wisdom they was articulating and the knowledge that they was finding and the faith that they had and the things that they was believing in. Okay, so these are the 12, and this is what the Egyptologists teach. I really personally, the pantheons of the ancient Kemetic, when it comes to gods and goddesses, my thing is, it's so many of them, they overlap. It's so ancient. When you ignore Nubia or the Sudan, you really like doing the injustice to the whole Egyptian paradigm. Now, I mean, but at the same time, a lot of the information is just simply lost. Now, I mean, and you have a lot of people that are just lie to you and act like they know what is, and it's like, nobody know. Nobody will know. It's lost. It's just, now, I mean, like, my pictures, I was going through the pictures, and I'm like, some of them pictures, like, I just threw them in the trash today. They lost. They destroyed. That record is gone. Now, I mean, some of the pictures I can mentally remember. And one thing I meant to say inside the video, I didn't realize till a couple of days later, it dawned on me. It was blessing in disguise. Me being me, pictures down. The picture that I said about my Aunt Ola, I had lost the picture of my Aunt Ola, beloved Aunt Ola Hassan, and she wrote on the back in her own handwriting that that's the picture of her at her graduation, when she graduated from high school, whatever. I was like, dang, I lost the picture. I didn't lose the picture technically, because when she sent me that picture, like 20, 30 years ago or something, I put the picture in one of our newsletters. So we made copies of that newsletter, and it went to like at least directly hundreds of people, and they made copies with other people. So there's thousands of that picture out there. And I have a picture, I had that lost picture in a newsletter somewhere in my files. Now, I mean, inshallah, Sakeen, I'll dig that out one day. So some stuff don't get lost. Now, I mean, and I remember her smile crystal clear. It's in my mind's eye. All right, so these are the 12 signs, or the 12 major gods and goddesses that form the original zodiac. Before I get lost, I got distracted. Short version, I was telling y'all something. When you study the ancient Babylonian or Iraqi zodiac wheel, whatever, the historians, when they translate in the stuff, they made a mistake in translation. And what basically happened, I'm giving the short version of what happened was they wrote the calculation wrong. So what that basically showed, now the American zodiac, Aquarius, Gemini, and all other pseudo stuff, is based on the ancient Iraqi system and the ancient Kemetic Egyptian system in the temple. And the scholars that made the American zodiac, like when you hear people say like, oh, I was born in January, so I'm an Aquarius. I mean, the historical calendar that they used, the actual translation that they used was mistranslated. So everybody that's whatever sign you is, according to if it was true, you're not that sign, you're the sign before or after that. So the whole clock is off, basically. So that's another funny thing to me, because if astrology is based on the sun's position and our dates of birth, and it's like you setting your clock for New Year's, but instead of putting both hands on 12, you put one on, say, 12, and the other one is on 10. No matter what time it is, it's going to be 2 hours wrong because you set the clock wrong. They set the zodiac signs wrong. I mean, they either got it before or after. The degree is just simply wrong. I mean, but let me give you these ancient gods real quick. All right, the first one, Happy. That's the god of the source of the Nile. Symbolizes mainly the moon and Uranus. That's where you get the basic sign Sagittarius, all right? Then you have the second god, Amun-Ra. That's the god of gods, if you will. The sun, Saturn, and that's the symbol of Taurus, the bull, all right? Then you have Ma'at. That's the mother goddess, symbolizing the sun and the scorpion. Then you have, when we say scorpion, the modern day would be the crab or Cancer, whatever. All right, then you have Jeb, the earth god, which would be Libra. Let me just run through this. This is Usar or Osiris, the sun. He's Pluto. He's the sign of Aries. Set, Isis, the goddess. She was the earth, the moon, Uranus, representing the fish or Pisces. Then you had Tahuti or Thoth. He's the author, the writer, the scholar, the secretary, if you will. He symbolizes the moon, symbolized by Mercury. He represents Virgo. Then you had Heru or Horus. He's the sky god, basically politics. The sun and the moon, representing Capricorn. Anubis, mummification. He representing Mercury or Leo, the lion. Then you had Seth or Satan, symbolizing Mars or Gemini, the war maker. Then you have Bastet, the goddess of cats or fertility. She's the goddess of the sun, the moon, and what we symbolize as Cancer today. Then you have Sekhmet. She symbolizes by the goddess Venus of war and destroyer of the enemies of the sun god. The sun, she represents Aquarius. Know what I mean? So ancient Kemet or Black Egypt, they wisely and intelligently was studying real astronomy. Like they was actually like not just ancient Egypt. I'm talking about the Sumerians, the people in Arabia, the people in North America, Central America, South America, the islands, Australia, all over Africa. Now I mean, you know, you have a lot of pseudoscience that goes with all that stuff like that there. Now I mean, like you had like it's like you have people like they be like, oh, the Dogon tribe, they mapped out the universe and they had this, that. And when you do the science on it, it's a lot of truth there. It's a lot of pseudoscience there too. What people forget is the Dogon, when you look at it, it's a lot of wrong stuff there. I mean, they did not know the moons of Pluto. When they talk about the rings of Saturn, they didn't know it was rings around a whole bunch of other planets in our solar system. So it's a lot of science that was taught back in the 40s and 50s and 100 years ago, whatever. And people lay hold to legends and mythologies and mythos. And it just sounds, it's like it makes people feel good. I mean, and sometimes people need to feel good. I understand that. But when it comes to reality, you don't want to take people outside of reality. Now, I mean, it's like you don't want to make them think that it was something spooky, because what happens is they'll be like, oh, we mapped out the stars. We built the pyramids, but we can't build skyscrapers right now. We can't build nuclear submarines right now. We can't unite our people in the wilderness of North America. We can't build a nation in a nation right now. I mean, it's like, because we're looking at it like they had some type of esoterical powers, and they like, listen, this stuff we did with the map and all that stuff like that, and planets and all that. We also was growing food. We also was hunting. We was making clothes. You see the science, how we weave baskets. We was building our own houses. We knew what herbs to use to heal our people. Now, I mean, we was doing practical, mundane, day-to-day things. We was cutting hair. We had barbers. We had hair salons. We had music. We was making rap music thousands of years ago. Now, I mean, we had our own culture. We was doing our thing. I mean, and that's what's, to me, is the real beauty of our story. Not his story or their story, but the real beauty of our story. You know what I mean? So in the Bible, in the book of Genesis, chapter 35, you see this man known as Jacob, Hebrew Yaakov. Now, I mean, Yaakov or Jacob, he's going to have the 12 zodiacs. I mean, literally, like, I remember years ago, I did a thesis on that stuff. You could like, it's like whatever the modern sign is, like if they be like this sun, like say one zodiac sign is twins. He's going to have some twins. say one zodiac sign is a ram. He's going to have a ram let loose. I mean, this son is going to be like, so-and-so is like a dweller of the sea. He's going to be like a crab. I mean, he's going to have a daughter named Dinah. He's going to have 4 wives. Well, he's going to have 2 wives and two concubines. I mean, 2 baby. He's going to have 2 baby mamas and 2 wives. Now, I mean, and he's going to produce these children, and from these tribes, or from this lineage or these families, you're going to have this mythos that grows out, these legends that grow out as they travel around and do their thing. Now, I mean, you're going to have zodiacs. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I'm going to reread something he said about this astrology stuff again. Now, I mean, it's explained to us. Such people, astrologers, should be taken to the chopping block and one by one have their heads chopped off. No wonder God said to me, these type of people, kill every one of them. Don't let any soothsayer exist in the earth, those who peek and mutter. Now, I mean, so here, we know that from 1930 to 1970s, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad did not order The FOI, they kill any astrologers. I mean, literally. I mean, but if you come with some spooky stuff, we're going to mentally chop your head. I mean, we're going to symbolically or figuratively, as the Holy Quran says, we're going to hurl the truth at the falsehood until we knock his brains out. Know what I mean? But in the hereafter, we're not allowing anyone to teach anything but the black man is God. You're not going to come in there with some spooky stuff. Know what I mean? So we have to understand all of this superstition that we're presently living under today. Now, I mean, if you're an FOI or an MGT who wants to believe as the messenger believed, who wants to follow the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, regardless what branch you may be in, I respect the politics of the time, you want to be mindful that it's not a good thing to believe that you're a Virgo or a Sagittarius or Capricorn or Libra, where somebody be like, what's your sign? Tell them Allah, God, goddess, melanin, black, nature, the universe, mathematics. Anything real is my sign. I mean, it's like the constellations that you see in the sky. Our lessons teaches us that though the galaxy is 157 quintillion miles, the messenger teaches us that the stars was put in the sky 72 trillion years ago. We was on Earth under the sun living 76 trillion years ago. 72, 73, 74, 75. For 4 trillion years, when you looked up in the sky, there was no such thing as an Orion's belt. There was no constellations at all. There was no Bear. There was no Sagittarius, no Virgo, none of that. So how did that affect us physically on the earth? It didn't. The black man is God. The struggle continues, family. Peace.